It is another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the 5 films released on November 20th, 2009. And certainly one of those mixed bag weekends. We have some movies that were Oscar contenders. We have a movie that won an Oscar for somebody and was generally liked at the time, but the 16 years since has gone on to have not a very good history behind it. And then we have not one, but two really god-awful movies. One animated and one sequel. And why not waste it? Let's not waste any more time, and let's just get to that sequel, because it is the top movie of the weekend, the biggest new release of the weekend. That is, of course, the Twilight Saga, New Moon. The sad part is, as bad as that is still more convincing than the Wolfman from Jason Blum's Wolfman reboot from earlier in the year. I mean, that's how you know that movie was absolutely awful. But as bad as that is, this one is just as bad because, the first Twilight movie, I don't like it, but I get it. I get what it's supposed to do, who it's appealing to. Not to me, but to the fans of the book, the teenage girls. Let them have their fun with the first movie overall. I mean, that would have been okay with this film too, but no, they decided to take it to a whole nother level of awfulness, and this is where the true what the hell are you trying to prove to anybody here of this Twilight series and of the Twilight series is trying to tell you. But I don't know if that even meant anything, but you get what I'm trying to say here. But anyway, let's get to the movie here. After Bella recovers from the vampire attack that almost claimed her life, she looks to celebrate her birthday with Edward and his family. However, a minor accident during the festivities results in Bella's blood being shed, a sight that proves too intense for the Cullens because, I mean, they're vampires, and blood is the only thing that's keeping them alive, so that's got to be the thing that's got to be too intense for them. Heaven forbid if they actually have to have an emotion in these movies, but they decide to leave the town of Forks, Washington for Bella and Edward's sake. Initially heartbroken, Bella finds a form of comfort in reckless living, as well as an even closer friendship with Jacob Black, played by Taylor Lautner. Danger in different forms awaits. Yeah, what really happens in this movie is that, Edward says, "This is the last time you'll see me, even though I'll literally see you in my memories, and I'll tell you not to do things. So you're not really leaving me completely, but we gotta do it because we gotta do it so that people think that this is the last time we're gonna see these people ever again." And we gotta form this so-called relationship with Jacob, who looks completely different than he did in the first movie overall, and apparently has grown a six-pack in the last year since this movie came, since the in-between movies. But as I said before, the first movie overall really isn't that bad. I mean, it's just a generic movie. It knows who it's appealing to. So for that, you got to give him the proper credit for that. But if that movie had been like this, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But no, they decided to pull the rug out of you and let the shit hit the fan repeatedly in this film. This is a disaster of a movie. Kristen Stewart's Bella Swan in this movie is one of the biggest cock teases, annoyingly written She's one of the biggest cock teasing, annoyingly written female characters that you will ever see on the big screen. I mean, this is a woman who is so all about her and nobody else except for her needs. Like, she makes Anastasia Steele from the 50 Shades movies look like the same person by comparison. I mean, she is a cock teasing Christian Grey as much as she's doing with this mess of a movie here. But then again, it's not her doing it to him. But here, Bella Swan has no comparisons or intriguing things about her whatsoever to have these two guys pine for her, unlike somebody like Anastasia Steele in the 50 Shades of Grey movies. And on top of that, nothing happens in the movie. No real drama in this movie that you give a crap about. You don't care about any of these characters. You don't feel for anything that's going on in here. You really have to wonder what sane person appreciates this garbage overall. And it's 2 hours of your life that you're never getting back. There's no reason why I need to be sitting here watching this just to torture myself. But then again, when I watched this for the first time, it was for a summer where I was watching some really bad movies. So I did it for your enjoyment, and I hope you enjoyed it out there, because I certainly did enjoy it. Yeah, I sacrificed a lot of my time because of this garbage. It wasn't even COVID. It was 2 years before COVID, so I can't even use that excuse. But yeah, Twilight Saga New Moon, this is definitely one of the worst installment of the series, or at least one of the worst installments of the series, because we haven't gotten to Breaking Dawn yet, but It fails as a story. It fails as a drama. It fails to develop the characters. It just fails overall. It's a terrible movie. It's not enjoyable by any stretch of the imagination. But the only thing about this series that is going to get better from here is that the next movie actually turns out to be not as bad as you would think it would be. Far from it. It is definitely the best movie of the series coming up after this. And that's not really saying a whole lot, but then again, David Slade is looking at this and saying, I directed 30 Days of Night. I'm not going to do what you guys did with New Moon. I'm actually going to put some balls into this. And he actually made something intriguing and interesting about it, where Twilight even makes fun of itself. But yeah, I'm going to look forward to talking about that one, because yeah, that's definitely the best one of the Twilight series. But we only got about 6 more months before we can get to that one. So anyway, yeah, that's New Moon. So let's go ahead and get to the most notable new release of the weekend, which was a massive hit at the time, but has definitely had a notable change in history since then, and that is, of course, Sandra Bullock in The Blind Side. So yeah, this film certainly had a very interesting history. Like I said before, at the time, it was a movie that was a massive hit. It was a big box office success, and it did eventually lead to Sandra Bullock winning her first Academy Award for Best Actress. And coincidentally, in the same weekend, she won the Razzie for Worst Actress for, of all things, All About Steve. But overall, Sandra Bullock had a really good 2009 with this and The Proposal and All About Steve. You can kind of push it off to the side overall, but yeah, and certainly it has had a very interesting history in the next 15 years, but as you can tell, the story is about Michael Orr, a football offensive lineman who overcame an impoverished upbringing to play in the National Football League with the help of Leanne, played by Sandra Bullock, and Sean, played by Tim McGraw-Toohey. And of course, Michael Orr had been drafted by the Baltimore Ravens that April, and he eventually went on to win a Super Bowl with the Ravens in 2012. So, yeah. He basically accomplished a goal of it, is to, be on a football team and eventually go on to win a championship. But the film overall, it's your typical generic sports drama. I mean, there's nothing really about it that makes it stand out or anything that unique. But, I mean, the performances are what carried overall. And John Lee Hancock is a very solid director who's directed a lot of stuff I've really liked. I liked what he did with Saving Mr. Banks. He also did The Rookie with Dennis Quaid. He did The Founder, which is a very underrated Michael Keaton movie with him as the owner of McDonald's, Ray Kroc. He's made a lot of good movies, and this is a solid director who can usually take a generic storyline like this and give it some life to it. And it also helps that he has good performances across the board here. Bullock is really good, McGraw, Quentin Aaron. But other than that, though, it is pretty much a generic sports drama, and it works because it's elevated by the performances of the leading actors involved here. I think they really carry the load here. On paper, it's a movie where, yeah, it deserves to be recognized as a good movie. Did it deserve to be the massive hit that it was? I wouldn't go that far. I mean, to be nominated for the Best Picture, I feel like was a little bit much here. This movie didn't really deserve to win a Best Picture nomination, considering that there were so many other better movies that you could have thrown in there in the 10 nominees for Best Picture. And this one really felt like they just put it in there because it was a massive hit, and they got to have some marketable movies there so the ratings can go up pretty much. But since then, since this movie has come out, this has had not the best history you want to have with a movie like this, where it was at the subject of a controversy where Michael Orr alleged that the Tuohys tricked him into signing a conservatorship agreement instead of legally adopting him, which prevented him from receiving royalties on this movie, and the family indirectly made millions. So the family kind of screwed him over big time here. And to basically kind of give you an idea here, here's what it says on Wikipedia in full. It says that in August 2023, Orr filed a lawsuit alleging that Leanne and Sean Tuohy never actually adopted him, but instead created a conservatorship, which gave them legal authority to make business deals in his name. He alleges that the Tuohys used their powers as conservators to strike a deal that paid them and their 2 children millions of dollars in royalties from The Blind Side when Orr received nothing. S.J. Tuohy, the biological son of the Tuohy family, claimed to have received $60,000 to $70,000 over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. The producers denied the Tuohys were paid millions, claiming the family was paid $700,000 after taxes, in addition to the contractual payments. Their company, Alcon Entertainment, made a charitable donation to the Tuohy Family Foundation and offered to donate an equal amount of charity to Orr's choosing, which he declined. The author of the book that this is based off of, Michael Lewis, also denied millions were made, claiming that 20th Century Fox had paid $250,000 for the option to make the film, split it 50-50 with the Tui family in order to decline his royalty checks, adding, "They showered him with resources and love. That he's suspicious of them is breathtaking. The state of mind one has to be in order to do that. I feel sad for him." And in August of 2024, the New York Times criticized Lewis for attributing Orr's lawsuit to CDE without evidence and promoting a white savior narrative, despite Orr already achieving high school football success before the Tuohys began their conservatorship. So then on September 29th, the judge terminated the conservatorship while the Tuohys had said that they were happy to end it. The Tuohys also later told the court that they would remove all mentions to Orr before being adopted from their websites and public speaking advertisements. So yeah, basically, like, this whole movie has become absolutely moot at this point. I mean, they kind of screwed him over, and I mean, yeah, it feels like this movie, when you watch it again recently, it definitely takes a much different turn overall. It does not feel like a movie that really feels like it's promising what they were delivering beforehand. But yeah, when you look at what's been happening since then, it definitely changes the mood of the movie overall. But to me personally, I still think the movie's okay. It's not one where I would say I'd watch it over and over again, but it is good for what it is. For a one-time watch, I think it's good enough nowadays, but I mean, back then, it wasn't really anything that's going to be like one of the great sports movies of all time. It is what it is. It's a movie that delivers what you expect it to do, and it works because Sandra Bullock does give it her all, and she deserves to win the Oscar for this, no matter what happens with what was going on behind the scenes of this whole thing. So yeah, that's all I got to say about The Blind Side. So, and trust me, it's one of the better wider releases you're going to see this weekend, because our next movie ain't any better. Let's go ahead and take a look at Sony's follow-up to Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, even though this wasn't produced by Sony in general. This is Planet 51. A title so we don't know what the hell it is that the film doesn't even tell you why it's called Planet 51. Maybe I guess their idea maybe is that it's supposed to be similar to Area 51, but they never mentioned it in the movie. They never mentioned it at any point here, so you're just wanting to guess what the hell Planet 51 has to do with anything here. But in this movie, you got a good premise overall here. You got an astronaut played by Dwayne Johnson who lands on an alien planet as one of the aliens, played by Justin Long, helps him return to his ship while evading the military. So overall, there's a good concept in here. It's a fun idea. Let's take the idea, let's reverse the E.T. storyline. Let's have it be a human being going to an alien planet and being lost and alone, instead of having it be the alien coming to our planet who's lost and alone. And if the film had just gone down that route and actually made it work, we probably would be talking about something really good here. But no, this thing is a disaster on so many levels. And as I said, Sony may have released this movie, but this is not a Sony Pictures animation movie. This isn't anything compared to what Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs or Surf's Up or Open Season was doing for that studio. They picked this up from another company, and it shows, because, my God, this thing is unbelievably awful. On paper, it doesn't look that bad, but you really need to delve into the voice work in here that seems really, really off. Like Dwayne Johnson, I don't know what they did to him in this movie, but he does not sound like Dwayne Johnson. He sounds like Dwayne Johnson if you turn the pitch up a little bit. Like if it would be like me and you turn the pitch up and just like, "Hey guys, how you doing?" Like I just sucked a balloon air out, just like that's what it feels like when you watch Dwayne Johnson here. He does not fit this character at all, and the voice does not fit at all. Like, you got people voiced by Jessica Biel, Gary Oldman, Sean William Scott, John Cleese. The writer of this is Joe Stillman, who wrote a lot of King of the Hill. So, there are not hacks behind this movie, but the film it's just not good. The animation is way too bubbly. It's too, it's the kind of annoying animation that you see where, you could definitely tell that this is just the animation that it's got to keep moving. It's got to keep moving so the kids can pay close attention to it, because kids are like kids. This is equivalent to Ritalin to them. But on top of that, the writing in here is awful. The references in here they throw in there are so forced. I mean, there is just references all across the board here that make no sense whatsoever. They do the Macarena in here. They make references to Animaniacs. Like, somebody says, "Can you sign my Humaniacs poster?" And just like, what the fuck is talking about Animaniacs in 2009? I mean, this is a script that feels like it was written for the 90s. And even times when it feels like it's written for the 80s. Like, that's how bad this script really is, because the humor in here really feels like something out of Pluto Nash, where it's like, you guys wrote this 20 years ago, and you're trying to fix it so it doesn't feel like you wrote it 20 years ago. Like, that's how bad this movie is. Like, the writing is awful. You don't like any single character in here. The jokes aren't funny. Like, it's a terrible movie. It's a terrible, terrible movie. Yeah, it's the worst animated movie of the year. Like, no question about it. It's easily the worst animated movie of the year. So yeah, I say go ahead and avoid Planet 51 like the plague. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get to our next movie here, which is a film that probably could have been terrible, but surprisingly is not. It's the sequel to Bad Lieutenant, which is a radically different movie than the Harvey Keitel movie, this time starring Nicolas Cage and Eva Mendes. This is Port of Call, New Orleans. Yeah, I have no idea why this is so connected to Bad Lieutenant, because, yeah, this has nothing to do with the original film. It's neither a sequel nor a remake, and yet it's a title and story that's loosely resembling the original movie from 1992, but the storyline here is it's very much the same plot as Bad Lieutenant. So after Hurricane Katrina, Nicolas Cage stars as a police sergeant who rescues a prisoner and hurts his back in the process, earning a promotion to lieutenant, plus an addiction to cocaine and painkillers. 6 months later, a family is murdered over drugs, and Terrence, Cage's character, runs the investigation, and his drug-using prostitute girlfriend, played by Eva Mendes, in the oddest Ghost Rider reunion you could possibly ask for, along with his alcoholic father's dog, run-ins with 2 old women and a well-connected John, gambling losses, and a nervous young witness, and thefts of police property put Terrence's job and then his life in danger. He starts seeing things. He wants a big score to get out from under mountain deaths, so he joins forces with drug dealers. The murders remain unsolved, and the Bad Lieutenant gets worse. Now, the original Bad Lieutenant is one of my favorite movies from 1992. I love that movie. I loved how dark and grisly it is. I mean, it's Harvey Keitel doing what Harvey Keitel does so well. He fits that character so well. So naturally, going into this, I was very much skeptical about why are they doing this? Like, why are they making this connected to Bad Lieutenant? Because it really does not have any real connections to Bad Lieutenant. My first thought was, this is going to be like Basic Instinct 2, isn't it? But unlike Basic Instinct 2, which is a god-awful sequel that makes no sense to existing, this one doesn't really have a sense to exist either, but at least this one is just as enjoyable as the original Bad Lieutenant. I mean, it's not connected to the first movie, but what it does on its own merits makes it work on its own merits, because Nicolas Cage is just doing classic Nicolas Cage, the type of Nicolas Cage that we love to see, the crazy, psychotic Nicolas Cage. We haven't seen him like this in a long time. After these bad movies he kept doing, like Next, and Ghost Rider, and Bangkok Dangerous, and Knowing, this is the crazy Nicolas Cage that we've been waiting to see for a long, long time, and God help it, God bless him, man. He makes this movie the great film that it is. I mean, this is a really impressive movie that I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed. You know, he and Eva Mendes have a lot of good chemistry in this movie, much more so than they did in Ghost Rider. And that really isn't saying a whole lot, because Ghost Rider is an overall mess, but you have a good cast. It also includes Jennifer Coolidge, Exhibit, the late Val Kilmer, Brad Dourif, and Werner Herzog directed this movie. I forgot that he made the scripted work too, because he did do scripted work, because he did Rescue Dawn, which is not a bad movie. I completely forgot about that one. I think we've covered some of his other movies, too. I know I'm thinking maybe Grizzly Man. The Grizzly Man's the notable documentary that I know from him that he directed, but I completely forgot he did Rescue Dawn. So yeah, he is not a bad director overall, and he makes this work. It's a really good movie. It's silly, it's over the top, it's dark, it's raunchy, but it works. It works because you get to see what you want to see from a Nicolas Cage movie like this. I mean, you get to see him be the Bad Lieutenant, and it's pretty friggin' awesome. And it just works. It just works on so many levels. It's a movie where, even if you love the first Bad Lieutenant movie like I did, you can still find a lot of merit and value to this film overall. I enjoyed the hell out of this. Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. It's a really, really fun movie. Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here. Pedro Almodovar's latest film, and that's Penelope Cruz in Broken Embraces. So in Broken Embraces, you have a blind Madrillian screenwriter who recalls his tragic love for Lena, played by Penelope Cruz, the deceased lead actress in his last directorial feature, Girls in Suitcases, who was also the mistress of a powerful, obsessive businessman. And yeah, this is one of those movies where this is the type of movie that I wanted Women in Trouble to be. Because Women in Trouble really felt like a film that wanted to be so hard, like a Pedro Almodovar movie, and just was one of the most boring movies you'll ever see in your entire life. And that was one we took a look at last time around, so if you want to go check that out, check out the last episode. But this is a movie that I think works a whole lot better, and it works because Penelope Cruz really does hold you in, keeps you invested in the film overall, as does the leading actor in here, Leos Homar, who plays the screenwriter here. And it's a very good erotic movie. It's a good erotic drama. It does what Pedro Almodovar does so well, and I'm actually really kind of surprised this did not become a big awards contender. I thought this one was one where Penelope Cruz got an Oscar nomination for this, but no, I guess not. But I was kind of stunned by that, honestly. But it's a really good movie. If you love Pedro Almodovar's other films, this is definitely right up your alley. It's a film that really plays to the strengths of Almodovar as a whole, and it shows what Penelope Cruz's range as an actress can really be. It's a really good movie. Can't recommend it enough. Not much more to say about it, but it's Broken Embraces. And so, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we'll go to Thanksgiving weekend, and the last Thanksgiving weekend of the decade, and we'll take a look at not an impressive slate of movies at all. I mean, this is a rough slate here, because the first film we have here is not only one of the worst comedies ever made, not only is it one of Disney's biggest disasters of all time, but it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life, and that is, of course, Old Dogs with John Travolta and Robin Williams. We also have Ninja Assassin starring Rain from Speed Racer, but we do have some decent films here. We have The Road with Viggo Mortensen. We also have the independent release of the limited release of The Princess and the Frog, Disney's latest animated feature, the first 2D animated movie from the studio in a long time, nearly 10 years. And we also have a criminally underrated gem from Zac Efron called Me and Orson Welles. So we'll take a look at those 5 movies coming up on the show tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and hit that playlist on the next page. Check out the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also, don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, the notification button, and the bell, because that's where you get updates on when new videos come out. We do post new videos here every day. And stay tuned, because coming up on Time About the Movies Flashback, we're taking a look at 5 movies from April of 1987 with The Secret of My Success starring Michael J. Fox, the re-release of The Aristocats, Making Mr. Right, Campus Man, and Gothic. So we will take a look at those 5 movies on Flashback. That's coming up after I'm posting this up, so please stick around, because we will be right back with that right after this.